For today, we're going to it's not going to be a fluffy, I don't think any of our episodes are fluffy, but today's topic is really around, diving into the neuroscience, the psychology, the constant why. It's the why of why do you struggle? Why do you continually struggle? How do you stop struggling? How do you stop feeling like the world is so overwhelming that everything is, you're on the verge of burnout continually and things like that? Because the more and more we work with business owners, the more and more we have these conversations, it's wow, you just described that so perfectly. It's like, I'm like, well, yes, because we completely understand the feelings of overwhelm and burnout, and any of these so-called big names out there, that have these followings, and they say, burnout isn't real and overwhelm isn't real. Like they are actually things, like they are real things that happen to people. There is, many studies, there are a lot of things that actually support that there is a thing called overwhelm. There is a thing called burnout, right? And typically what people apply to those things is, I need to just take a break. I need to go on vacation. And those things never really work. They don't work, right? All you do is prolong coming back to it. We talked about it when the vacation period last year, right? Took some time off, but you come back in, boom, it's the same thing. Because if you're not really understanding and affecting the root causes of it, you will continually live in that cycle of overwhelm and burnout and frustration and feeling like the world is just so heavy. So today, let's dive into that, and it might get a little hot in here.
Yeah, exactly. With that, we're going to talk about in today's episode on how to decouple all of that and getting out of that cycle. We are your hosts and neuroscience business coaches. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darius. And we're here to give you the minimum effective dose to scale your biology, to scale your business. And we say that because this is really lessons learned in the trenches. Scaling businesses, working with clients, but also scaling a business $30 million in under 18 months, which is no small feat. Which comes with its own set of challenges in terms of overwhelm, burnout, like just working crazy hours and learning what works and what doesn't work. So we don't say this because it's some floofy bullshit. This is where the rubber meets the road. Every client that we've worked with that has implemented the strategies, that actual tactics around this stuff, has dramatically changed their life and given themselves so much more bandwidth and ability to attack their goals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where to start? That's the interesting one. I think about it. It feels like a very big topic.
Yeah.
That constant cycle of overwhelm, frustration, burnout, and everything that goes along with that, because it's not just those feelings, right? When you break it down, when you're in those moments, you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Right? You feel like you're failing yourself. You compare yourself to other people. And I remember very vividly sitting at my desk 2:30 in the afternoon, being barely able to keep my eyes open and just wondering why I felt like such a failure.
Yeah.
Why, like, what am I doing wrong? Why is it I see these other guys out there and it seem like they have limitless energy or limitless grind, limitless hustle. They just have this sense of, or source of energy that I could not tap into. Right. And at the same token, or at the same time, just feeling so crushed by the felt like overwhelming pressure of everything, like all of life, all of business, everything all at once.
Right. And I think that's the perfect place to start, because again, if you go back to what is like a couple months ago now, we were talking about the podcast where coming back from vacation, you think you're like rejuvenated and you're ready, but you hop right back into that same cycle and nothing changes. And it's because you never really dealt with the problem at hand.
Yep.
And you constantly wonder why you're failing, why you're stuck in this loop, and how are some people doing it. And I realized that so I was going to go off on a bit of a tangent, but I realized
we never do that.
I realized that there's different personality types where you inherently like helping people. So you have like 5 different things on the go. You have your own business. You're like, well, how do I help person X? How do I help person Y in their business? I also have like personal life problems I need to deal with. So everything is running on like a weird like cadence that happens at any different times of the day. And then as time goes by, your bandwidth keeps coming down and you wonder like why you're not putting too much energy. And I don't mean this like you specifically. I just mean like there's people that
How do you know?
that people in the business side of things, you feel that you don't have the energy to put into it because we talk about cognitive load all the time. And the reason why is because all those other things are subconsciously taxing on your on your ability to actually show up your best. Then there's other people that have a lot of control over their time and their energy, and they'll only do the one thing. I know a person really, really well in my life right now, and the only thing they have going on is a business. Everything else is like smooth sailing in their life. So all the energy they put in, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is just on the business. So when they have that time to recharge, they only have the one thing to worry about. Yeah. So you never close off the browser tabs. You don't have to worry about the other tabs because you only have the one tab going.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, a lot of things come up as you talk through that. I agree that those different types of people, and the funny thing is in all of that, people wonder why they get the same results or things don't change when they don't change.
Exactly.
And it's frustrating to see. I think one of the the funniest thing about working with clients and coaching and then seeing them start to coach their people is when they get frustrated with the people in their organization they're coaching, and they're like, well, I'm showing you and I'm teaching you and I'm coaching how to get through that. And I look at them and I just tilt my head a little bit like, oh, that's interesting. So are you saying that just because you have coached them once and told them something once, they didn't get it, and it takes them more time than you thought for them to get the message? And then they look at me and the light bulb goes off. They're like, oh, yes. And because they're voicing how frustrating it is. And I said, oh, I understand that. Right. Because it feels like a very difficult thing as a coach is to have people who, it just takes time because everyone's on their journey, and you attack problems from different angles to give them different, either, tools in their toolkit, different context, say things different ways. Sometimes you give different resources to help kind of shape enough context that those things start to connect.
Yeah. And
it's funny because when you look at that, I would say the biggest thing around that all the time is mindset, right? We don't even question so many of the beliefs that we have, that we just go on this operating system and we do repeat the things over and over and over and wonder, and we get frustrated that things never change, but we don't do anything different. Yeah. Or we convince ourselves that doing this one little thing that slightly differently is this massively big difference, and it's not. And so I feel like I'm speaking to myself sometimes. Like that whole mindset idea, we talk mindset all the time, and it is such a powerful but important thing to think about, because if you go into something with such a narrow mindset, but you don't even realize that you are closed off from learning, or you're not even questioning where these beliefs came from or why they did, then you'll continue to just not get the lessons. I don't know if I want to continue on from there, or let's continue into some of the other reasons why, right? Yeah. Because flow cycle. Let's talk about the flow cycle, right? Struggle, release, flow, recovery. Like that in and of itself is the formula for flow. And of course, there's all the different little nuances of like, how do you maximize flow? How do you get into flow? How do you make sure you're ready to go into flow? What are all the triggers? What are all the blockers, right? All those things. More importantly, though, is at the very beginning is the struggle phase, right? So there is an element of struggle there, but most people live in a perpetual cycle of struggle because there is no point where they release. They don't stick to it long enough. They are focusing on the wrong things, but they refuse to admit that they're working on the wrong things or question if they're working on the right things. We say, solve the right problem the right way. And how many times when we're sitting down, it's like, well, I spend all my time doing this. Okay, but do you need to be spending? Is that worth, like, what are you doing to solve that? Or is that even really a problem? Or are you just feeding your ego or this sense of altruistic sense of purpose by feeling you have to do this, but it's not really the root cause?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've got all these meetings in a day. Oh, I got to attend all these meetings. Clients want all these meetings. Okay. Are the meetings required? Well, they're required. But what's the root cause? Is it you didn't set strong enough boundaries on it?
Yeah.
Oh, so now let's deal with that. So it's your inability to set boundaries and standards as to what constitutes you being required to attend a meeting and how that meeting is going to be more productive. Right?
Yeah. And so I want to quickly make a comment around all of that. We find this happen all the friggin' time with business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast, is to be like, that's our audience.
Yeah.
Because we see this happen time and time out all the time.
Yeah.
We see this happen all the time with business owners and entrepreneurs, just because there's a lot more on stake for them.
Yeah, and I think what it is, in addition to that, they feel like they have to solve all these things.
Yeah.
But they bring with them the classic technician mentality to it. It's, I have to do the work. Because you haven't learned a better skill of how to delegate and how to break things down.
Yeah.
You repeat the sins over and over and over, and you don't take the lesson. Instead, you train yourself to create more of the problem, become more of the bottleneck.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the hardest thing, one of the hardest things to do as a business owner, is to remove yourself as a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And replace that with systems.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which then kind of leads into the conversation we were just having before we started around, goals. And goals are, I think, there's going to be a camp that says, oh, you don't really need goals, you need systems. And there's going to be one group that says, oh, you need goals, not systems, right? Like, if you have the goals, it'll drive you thing. And I actually disagree. I think it's both. Is our goals are important because it helps kind of it's the pull. Like, what are you actually pulling yourself towards? And then the systems are the things that help you kind of they sustain the behavior, and it helps you create better behaviors to make those things more achievable, to give you more bandwidth and things like that. So it's a combination of both. It's like that dichotomy, either or world. I'm like, the world doesn't fucking exist like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. It's either or, and there's no room in the middle. And like we said with, when we did the podcast about the Andy Frisella 75 Hard versus James Clear Atomic Habits, right? And people want to be like, oh, this method, or it's this method, and they divide themselves. It's actually, you know what? It's context fucking dependent.
Yep.
But the fact is, you're probably doing neither, so it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're in the cycle of mental masturbation of, oh my God, you sit there and pontificate and think about things over and over, and thinking by doing that, you're somehow going to get better, and things are going to change, but you don't do anything differently, right? You don't attack your core beliefs and why do I believe I need to do this? And so as a result, you don't change. You're stuck in the fucking struggle phase forever because of those things that hold you back.
Yeah, exactly. And, touching back to our last week's podcast, talking about business owners, or, when you run into a problem like that, you just apply the same situation, same logic and same skill sets every single time, instead of understanding that hey, maybe this needs a different approach. Maybe you need to take a step back to really understand what the problem is. And then, again, I want to tie in not hiring the right people on your teams, because if you continue hiring down instead of hiring up, you're never going to be able to trust that person to deliver on the thing that you hired them to do.
Yeah.
And
Which is easy to say for us. I just
yeah.
sorry, jump in there, because it's like, and I will completely just call this out. If you don't know how to hire up, you wouldn't know how to hire up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when you need some help, because if you've never, most people, when they think of hiring, they hire, and whoever's available, they know what they know, what they've experienced.
Yeah.
And there's usually a lack of awareness of what is hiring up? What is a next level of talent?
Exactly.
And had a conversation just last week with a client, and they were talking about, okay, well, I'm looking at potentially bring on this other person to do this thing. I'm like, cool. It's buy or build, right? So build, obviously you're going to be able to pay less depending on what your cash flow is, but you're going to have to invest more to build that skill set.
Yeah.
Or if you want to buy a skill set, you now have to invest substantially more because they're coming with that skill. The problem is most business owners think they're just going to get buy level talent with build quality pay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And wonder why it doesn't ever work and why they get a pile of shit in their business.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, he didn't do the thing I wanted him to do.
Yeah, I hired this person to do this. Well, do they have any experience doing that? Well, no, but they said they did. I'm like, okay, so you're a shitty hirer.
Yeah.
You don't know how to qualify your candidates. You don't know how to dive into them.
Exactly.
Right? So you're lacking a whole skill set, and you're blaming them for coming to the table and convincing you that they could do the job when they couldn't.
Yeah.
So you're both to blame there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
and there's a flip side of that too, where sometimes you could recognize a skill set that someone has, but it's not polished.
Yeah.
So, but it goes back to the building thing, where now if you recognize that skill set, you have to invest some time and help polish that, knowing that the end result is going to justify your effort required to polish that. Yeah. So, I see that exactly all the freaking time with so many of our clients. It just makes no sense why, people are inherently just stuck in their old ways.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to boil the essence of this episode down into one phrase. It's you are the problem. You're the problem, but you're also the solution. Mm-hmm. So in all of these things, your belief set, your beliefs, your values, your mindset, your behaviors, all of those things are the problem. Mm-hmm. But they're also the solution to the problem, because all of those, you can adjust and change any of those.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yep.
Right? Change happens in a moment. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens is it takes us years to get enough context to wrap ourselves around a thing, to force us to get enough leverage to get us to flip the switch.
Yeah. And
the sooner we start to realize that, the sooner we can get out of this. I mean, we're going to go way back to early podcasts where we talk about different thinking mental models, mm-hmm. is the expectation gap.
Right.
Right. Where we tend to expect results or things like that in a very linear or very highly positive relationship. So if I invest this hour of time, I expect to see a very correlated amount of return on it, right? So I spent an hour doing this thing, I should see results very quickly.
Yeah.
And what happens is that most of the activities we engage in are exponential activities, right? So what that means is over a long period of time, it doesn't feel or look like there's a lot of result. It's very slow and gradual. Mm-hmm. It's like earning interest in a bank account, right? It's compounded very slowly. But at some point, the leverage starts, that exponential return starts to kick in, and then it becomes this exponential growth. It just skyrockets. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we have this very much more positive expectation of results. Yeah, and so the gap for a very long time between those two, between what their actual results are and what we expect to be, that's the expectation gap. And that's where it gets very frustrating, mm-hmm. very overwhelming, very discouraging. Right. And so that is the highest point where people quit and try to do something else, and they live perpetually in that struggle phase because they're then switching all the time and never stay with it long enough to win.
Yeah.
And they allow that overwhelm, burnout. But in those times, what they're not doing is they're not fixing all of the stuff that's contributing to it. So it's am I solving the right problem the right way? Am I reducing cognitive load? Am I challenging myself to, can this be done better? Do I even need to do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm speaking specifically to business owners because most of the stuff that you're dealing with, 99% of it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Oh, well, there was this like people issue in the office. Okay, fuck it. Like, guess what? There's always going to be people issues, and you don't really have a great skill set at this moment to know how to deal with that effectively.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's the way it is. Like, that's the growth learning curve in all of this. So you're not going to be a great coach because you yourself are just kind of learning all that skill set. You're not going to suddenly be able to coach someone to having these inter-office issues with, Jane and Mary, whoever the hell it is.
Yep.
Sorry, did I go off on a tangent there?
No, it just kind of reminded me of some of the situations I've been in, and it's just shaking my head.
Yeah. And so with that, I don't know, I feel very just strongly about this, that if you're feeling that frustration, that overwhelm, that burnout, that like consistent, and then you feel guilty and you just bring all that other stuff with it, right? There's probably just a lot of stuff you're not really dealing. You're committing the same thing, same behaviors over and over, and trying to expect something different without challenging what you actually need to be doing. Which is where, again, you talk about, we said, all those things, you're the problem and all those things are the problem, but they're also the solution. So what is it that you actually need to be focusing on? Do you understand what your major constraint is in the business? Because that kind of clarity will help give you the ability to say, oh, these things are not important. I'm actually focused now on solving the one problem,
one thing,
right? Yeah. And it may not be that at that moment, solving the interpersonal conflict is at the highest point in the list.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's where you like put in the right people you can trust to take care of that. Like, you need to completely erase that from your mind. Like, this is not on my plate. Like, my HR person is going to deal with that. Like, that's
well, here's the thing: if you're not big enough to have an HR person,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because there's a lot of companies that they have like 10 people in the organization, right? They're not doing 50 million. They don't have an HR group, and I would argue that most HR groups are not that effective anyway, right? And I would say, well, to handle a lot of your people issues is probably don't have core values in place. So you're not even clear at the level at which that everyone should be operating at and what the expectations are.
Yeah. And
if you don't have that core foundation, like in the absence of rules, people make up their own. And so they'll behave any way that they think because there is no rule to govern that. And there's nothing to point to and hold them accountable to, or hold yourself accountable to in front of them to establish that. And if you don't have that, I mean, cool, have HR people, but you're still not going to solve the problem because you don't have anything concrete to point at and say, hey, we play above the line here. We don't lay blame. We don't justify. We don't deny. We don't make excuses. We don't point our fingers at the people. The line is here. We're about accountability and responsibility. We take accountability for our actions. We own when we fucked up, right? And that's me as an owner. I'll own when I fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I'm just as accountable to all these things as you are.
Yeah.
And when you have that kind of foundation to start with, I mean, a lot of your people things start to disappear because when you recruit, you're like, here's our core values. This is the level of game we're playing. Are you willing to play at that level or not? If not, that's okay. It just means you're going to be really uncomfortable here because this is the level we aim to play at.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my close friends, like, he has like recently just started incorporating anytime he works with someone, gets them to read 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so they can create a level of, understanding of like, this is where we play, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is how we're going to move forward on it.
Yeah.
Right. And like the expectation is like, you are supposed to go through that so you can understand why, when we have conflict, how we're going to resolve it.
Yeah.
And the beauty about that is like, I guess like you can be upset with somebody and then leave at 5 p.m. and go grab a drink with them right after.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the context of those rules hold you together, right?
Yeah.
It's not a personal thing. I'm not attacking you, right?
Yeah.
We've agreed to this level of performance.
Mhm.
And that's what we're going to do. And if I'm taking ownership, if I'm demonstrating to you that I'm playing at that game, but I'm looking at myself first and foremost, I'm not coming attacking you.
Mm-hmm.
It just creates a whole other level of trust and performance.
Yeah.
And most people that don't want to play at that will leave.
Exactly.
It's uncomfortable. And and we see it happen all the time
Mm-hmm.
when you start to incorporate that. So again, are you solving the right problem the right way? Probably most of the time not. But here's the thing. This is going to be a shameless plug now, because most of these things, if you don't know how to do them, okay, you can struggle your way through and try to figure it out, or you can get some help. Shameless plug. This is what we're here for.
Yep.
This is what we do.
Yep.
Help you cut through the struggle phase, help you get rid of, as best you can, overwhelm, frustration, burnout. Every client after client is like, oh my God, like since working with you guys, like my overwhelm has almost like just disappeared. There's obviously little peaks here and there, but is not this persistent feeling of fucking overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm like doom all the time. And I suddenly have a much more clear path forward. Like that's what we're here for, right? It's the minimum effective dose. You don't need, hey, whatever's going to kill me and back it off an inch. It's what's the minimum effective dose in the right areas that's going to apply the maximum amount of leverage in there for you.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add?
No. I mean, like, these are all the things that relate to you failing. I was gonna say you being a failure, but like, they're both interchangeable.
Ouch.
Like it's this is the cycle, right? Like this is how you continuously get stuck in that loop, and then you wonder, why can't I get out, and how are other people getting out of it? And that's exactly it. Like that's why there is that shameless plug, because we've seen it time and time out, and it doesn't even have to be us. Like you could, if you have somebody else that you've been using that can help you, and your ego is not letting you be vulnerable, that's the change you need to make.
Yes.
As the business owner.
Yeah.
The reason why I would say us is because we've done this so many different times. We know exactly like what the business problems typically end up being and how to solve them. Yeah. So back to like the whole point of this podcast and this episode. As a business owner, you're going to, eventually run into a problem sooner or later. There are going to be things that are going to frustrate you, but that is the challenge you are faced with, right?
Yeah. And I'll kind of wrap this up by saying this next little bit is, as a business owner, you are the problem. You will not change. Your business will not change unless you change. The problems that you continually experience will not change unless you change. There is no one else coming to save you and rescue you from that. You are the one that has to start, and you have to start with you. You cannot expect your team to raise themselves to an expectation. They will always default to their base level of training. So all of these things rest on you. Your beliefs, your mindset, your values, your behaviors, all of those things are the problem, but they're also the solution. And they can be changed in an instant if you have the intestinal fortitude to let go of your ego, be humble, and get to fucking work.
Mm-hmm. That's the grit.
Yes. All right. And with that, everyone, we want to say thank you for joining us for this episode of BizMeds. We're your neuroscience business coaches. My name is Darius.
And I'm Saad.
And hopefully we gave you the minimum effective dose today to get you off your ass, to stop doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, to cut through your struggle and overwhelm and burnout and the bullshit that you keep telling yourself every day of why you're not succeeding. We just laid it out for you. This is how you can succeed. And if you need a hand, if you want to condense those time frames, then reach out. Sign up for the masterclass down below. We'll schedule a call. We'll get you squared away, and we'll get you working on that. All right? So with that, Mom, Saad's mom, love you. Thank you so much for always supporting us. And for those who've been with us since the beginning and just joining us for the first time ever, we see you all across the world. Thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. Yeah, I just plugged the masterclass. Sign up, 57 minutes to save 2 days a week of your life. That's a pretty good return on time invested, and it's free, right? Okay, with that, everyone, remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.